Talk2 Podcast. Yours truly, the boy PJ, here with Maza. Where is he? Introduce yourself. She has many names.
Yeah, I have so many names. Yeah, my real name is Mandela, but my stage name, or say then Facebook name, is Maza.
Okay. So you are from South Africa?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So we're sitting here, so we want to discuss xenophobia, all these things that's happening in Africa, especially in South Africa, where they're killing people from other countries, most Africans and stuff like that. So I decided to bring Wesley over here to get some clarification of what's going on. Now I'm just going to let you speak about all these events that's been happening in South Africa and whereabouts it happens in South Africa and what exactly is happening, all these killings.
Okay. I just want to correct from there about saying these killings. So we have to be careful what we say, because there are a lot of things that happen because of, I think it's lots of false information, worse and worse on social media, that resulted of people having public panic, When you say that there's killings, I don't understand, because there's no killings in South Africa in this last so-called xenophobia that's happened last week. The thing what happened is it was looting of foreign shops, not just foreign shops though, there was looting of shops in South Africa, and then there was burning of buildings, and those buildings, they are not owned by, and something people they don't understand, they are not owned by foreigners. The South African buildings, but some of them is that rented by foreigners, and the media doesn't clarify that. People say that there's a burning of buildings of foreign nationals, which is not true. They're South African buildings, but they're owned, they're rented by, for some of them they're just shops, but they're owned by South Africa.
But couldn't it be that the people that are born in the building made a mistake by not knowing that it was owned by South African, but rented by foreigners? They're born in the building thinking that this building is actually owned by a foreigner, not South Africans. Because if I'm going to loot something,
there's a lot. I think we need to go deeper in this, because during the looting of shops, you understand what I mean? The shops the shops that are looted are not only foreign owned, even South Africans owned. You understand what I mean? That's why I say I maintain the fact that this is criminal element. There's no xenophobia, because
so you think there's no killing of other people from other countries?
There was no killing. There was no killing in so-called xenophobia that's happened last week. There's no killing at all. There was a looting of shops and burning of shops.
But apart from last week, do you think there's being xenophobe? There has to be. I mean, these news countries.
You know what? As far as I know, it's every time people are protesting for genuine cause. People are taking advantage of that, because even the last 2 years, there was a protest was done by South African having genuine cause of doing that. But you've noticed that some people will take advantage of the protest, because this so-called xenophobia, how it started. Let's look at the cause, how it started. We have to go deeper and use our critical thinking in this issue and stop being emotional about it. You see, what happening is how this thing started. First of all, it started with genuine cause. People were protesting. South Africans were protesting. We have a problem in South Africa, which is drug problem, and most of the people that are involved in this, I'm sorry, I have to mention names. Most of them are Nigerians. Selling drugs in South Africa. And it's not a secret, you understand, even all over the world. Nigerians.
I don't think drugs, we can just clarify, Nigerians is drugs, selling drugs.
No, can I finish, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong. There was, what I'm trying to say, it started by genuine call. People were protesting against drugs. Sold by foreigners in South Africa. But I'm sorry to say, because that's what people say, sold by foreigners. That's what our people. But for me personally, I believe that an African cannot be a foreign in Africa. I just want to make it clear. But I just want to use. But no, not all.
It can't be.
No. There will never be.
Was that year when you guys made a case about South Africans being in South Africa only, and anybody else who was there had to leave, and you guys were making your business to basically beat up anybody who was a foreigner. That includes Caucasian people that were there as well.
No. That's not true.
Foreigners.
That's not true. That was something was circulating on social media. Even I remember even our President Zuma, I mean, there was a lot of discussion. If you listen to all the discussion was done even by African leaders, they found out there was no xenophobia. What's happening in South Africa? There's always a genuine call, and people take advantage of that. People were saying even that time, like, guys, there's something people they don't know. You have to go to South Africa and see. South Africa is overpopulated. It's let me say, if you go to there's a place they call Hebrew in Johannesburg. That place, people they've already call it Lagos. Really
populated by Nigerians.
Too much. It's too much. Like, I think it's I don't know.
But I'm quite sure there's not only Nigerian people that live
That's
there.
not the truth. But what I'm trying to say is there's loads of foreigners. People are so frustrated. There's loads. So in any country in the world, like in any country, if you remember, even here in Ireland, when lots of us were starting to come in Africa, you know what was happening. People were complaining about influence in every country. People panic.
But isn't that what you could compare, if you could, I don't want to really go into the conversation, but you compare the whole Brexit thing happen as well. Isn't that the same thing that you guys kind of do? Because as far as I know, when you have foreigners there, it's what kind of like cycles around your economy, you understand, and stabilize the country, if I could say per se. I don't really know the deep details. But if we stay into the xenophobia thing, so for you, all these videos of burning, because we're seeing videos of man being burned in South Africa, you understand?
Before we go there, actually, we are still talking the cause, but I wanted to make it clear how it started. First of all, it started by the genuine. Okay, first it started by the genuine call. People were protesting against drugs. Yeah, when I'm saying there's a serious drug problem in South Africa.
South
really.
Africans only, all Nigerians included, you saying, and it's only
No.
Nigerian
When I'm just saying it's a South African drug problem. Intake. Now, we are not talking about who brought the drugs. I'm just saying, you understand? And then secondly in South Africa there's a lot of criminality. If you remember, I think it's about 2 weeks ago when our own police were beaten by foreigners. The whole world. Even in South Africa.
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No.
Oh my God, it's all over. I think I'll show you. We will show you. I think we need to show
Put it up. Don't worry.
Yes.
We'll put it up.
If you see, it was a disgrace all over the world. Police have to, because I think they didn't expect that. When foreigners beaten, I'm not talking about just serious damaging.
Africans or?
Yes. Specific Africans where they were beating our police. I'm not talking about just serious damaging beatings where even our police vans were burned by foreigners. Our police have to pull up because they knew that if they retaliate, lots of people will die. That's what they said, because we demanded that what was happening, you know what I mean? What was happening? Why this thing was happening? Because we are all angry. I don't want to lie. Myself I wrote it on Facebook, guys. I said, the world is not saying anything about this because as far as I know, even here in Ireland, you disrespect the police, you disrespect the authority of the states. That's when the police, the citizen of any country will feel like we are not protected here. If our own police can run away, beaten.
That's a sign of danger.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
which means people that felt like that, like, okay, the foreigners are taking over, because that's a sign of.
So you guys retaliated. You guys retaliated for that.
No. Yes, I think people were angry with that, and then secondly as I say to you
But doesn't that, just before, I don't mean to cut you, doesn't that goes back to the police, because you guys, the police have a job to protect and serve for the people, you understand? Doesn't that go back to them, because they should be able to find a way to kind of like, you know, sterilize or calm the situation?
Yes, that's what
No,
that's what our police said when people, the whole country demanded answers from them, that what was going on, that was a disgrace in the whole world. What they're saying that they have to pull out because what's happening, they were scared of they will be lost, if they retaliated, lots of people die. And remember, South Africa is still on news of killing 34 minors in Marikana, if you remember the story with police here. So they were scared of another Marikana. And if police retaliate, I wonder what people will say. Because now the whole world is talking about South Africa is xenophobic. I think now I try to understand maybe why the police didn't do anything on that day, which was a disgrace. We were all angry that we felt that we're not protected. If foreigners can come in any country and start beating, serious damaging police, and then the van and police run away, it's a takeover. That's what we felt as citizens.
I think anywhere you feel like it's a takeover.
So, and the second thing is, in South Africa is we have a problem with corruption. Our police, of course, are corrupt to the core.
I think most places in Africa, police are
corrupt, and they work with these drug lords. You understand? And when the citizens are going to the police and report, okay, there's something, because in South Africa there's some places where in Johannesburg where it's controlled by these drug lords. Foreign drug lords are controlled. There's no go area, and people go to the police and tell, like, there's this the selling of drugs in South Africa is like the market. Like if you go to town now, there's a market, people selling some organic food. It's like that. In Sunnyside, in Johannesburg, it's like free market. And people, when they go to the police not do anything because they are paid by these drug lords. So people, they feel hopeless. That's the reason why they take law into their own hands, which is wrong, though. That doesn't
make it right, though.
Yes.
And are you trying to say that there's no xenophobia whatsoever in South Africa? There's nothing like that happening, because apart from we see videos of burning building, which before we started, you said that those videos are false. Okay, we've seen video of a man being burned. You understand? You said those videos are false. We've seen a video of a lady being beaten, but I think for some of those is some people will take advantage of the situation, and they're trying to put fuel that does not belong to that fire.
It's true.
They're saying they're trying to fuel it up more for whatever cause it is. I also think that South Africa is one of the countries that can be easily targeted whenever something happens there.
Yes.
It's easy for people to come to put fuel. But one thing that we cannot do is sit here and say that there's not a xenophobic country. For as far as I knew, like in South Africa, I know for a fact, having families live there, it's a country of pride. It's a country that we can say is one of the countries most recognized in Africa. And also, it's one of the countries where people have suffered so much in the past that you guys feel like you're entitled to your land, you're entitled to your country, and you're entitled to your own people. It's almost as if you have Africa and then you have South Africa.
No, but I don't think so. As I'm trying to say, I don't think so that there is xenophobia in South Africa at all. The reason why I'm saying so, men, you know that. In 1994, when Mandela invited all Africans, when our economy was strong, I think that time in 1994, we were living with with our own African brothers. We never heard them since 1994. But why now? Of course, in South Africa, in any country, there's some people, like, let me say here in Ireland, for example, we have racist people, but we can't call all Irish people racist. We have racist. Even in South Africa, we have those people who are never, never travel. People who
local people feel like they've born, they've bred the country.
You understand?
They've lived their life.
And there are some people who are unemployed in South Africa, and they're always feeling that the reason why they're unemployed because some people came here, they took over here.
That's everywhere. People
that's
come from
every country
to
take the jobs. You understand? We have those kinds of people. But to say that just because we have few people like that, and there are those people when every time there's genuine cause, protest or something, they take advantage of the situation. We have those kind of people in South Africa, but I don't think so. We've been living, of course, man, if you just go there, we've been dating foreign nationals, we are marrying them, so where will be the xenophobia coming? The only thing is,
think there's any, to clarify, there's no
xenophobia at all in South Africa.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% South African. peace-loving people, accommodating people. The only thing is, South Africans, I think, is they're frustrated at the moment. I know the only thing is they are frustrated and they don't know where to direct their anger. Some of the people are directing their anger to foreign nationals instead of directing our anger to our own politicians and to our own police, because people, they see a criminal activities being done by foreign nationals, and when they go to the police are not doing anything. That's why they take the laws in their own hands. Seriously, people should go and investigate. And I think another thing that fuel all this is social media. So social media play a major role in confusing lots of people.
So none of the videos that's coming up, you think...
No, they're not true. The videos, there was no killing. Actually, really.
There was man burning.
No, that man burning actually was a South African. In South Africa, it's...
I think there was...
With a rate of crime, people are so angry. Like now, let me tell you something. Even now, you can go in South Africa and rob someone.
They say there was a killing.
They'll stone you to that. No, what's happening is, for example, 2 weeks ago, there was this Tanzanian guy. This Tanzanian guy is selling cigarettes on the street in South Africa as a hawk, selling cigarettes. So there's these 2 guys, which is a South African. You know, what they did is they went to this guy. They wanted to rob. It's a tag. What do you call it? Tax. Yeah, tax robbing people. So they went to this guy. They know he's selling cigarettes. They asked him 2. Okay, can I have a packet of cigarettes? He gave 1 and then he gave to another guy. And then after that, they refused to pay. You know, this guy chased them. So listen, you can't just take my cigarettes. I'm making money here. I'm not running any charity organization. Give me money, follow them. Stab them. There's a high rate of crime in South Africa. We all know that. There's a high rate of crime. These things can happen it can happen to me. It can happen. Even you too, you can go to South Africa and hire a car now for holidays and drive around Johannesburg. You know, they will hijack you. It doesn't mean that it's xenophobia. No, that's not xenophobia. It's criminal element. It can happen to anyone. People are mixing those things now in social media. Robbery.
Was there a killing of Nigerians though?
No, there's no killing in this.
Somalis died,
nothing. It's only, of course, yes, we condemn. There's a burning of buildings. There's a looting of shops. They've looted the shops. Really, they did that.
Due to drugs. In your explanation,
genuine protest. You see, let me tell you something.
Genuine protest. Why burn a building of a?
No, it was no. What I'm trying to say is, it was genuine, but some people. Let me tell you something. It's not only happen only in foreigners. Let me say that in my own city, which is King Williamstown. Let me say, okay, my own village. When people protesting, they ban clinics, they ban schools. It's what the media will not tell you. I'll show you some places, our own people, we always condemn them, that why should you ban? In South Africa, we have a culture. We have a culture, some people, they don't know, we have a culture. Before our leaders can listen to us, we have to ban buildings. It's something I've been condemning. If you can go to my page, I was like, I really don't understand our politicians. Why people, they have to ban buildings? They ban clinics, they ban schools, even kids. Student, when they're protesting, look at I'm talking about now academics. During the fees must fall in South Africa, there was a fees must fall movement that the students were saying that they want to pay fees in university in South Africa. Look how they protested. They were not banning university, they were banning university. Because we have to go deeper. We have to use critical thinking. There's no xenophobia. This banning of buildings during protests not only happening to foreigners. Our own people, when they're protesting, they must ban clinic. They must ban schools. Things that we will need though. Because after the protest, who's going to be affected? It's not us that are going to be affected, because those kids those are our kids that are studying those skills. It's our parents who go, at the end of this, really, I don't know. These things, we were talking as South Africans, even on social media, we need to educate our people. Because at the end of the day, when we ban these services, these are services that we need at the end of the day.
That's true, yeah. And do you think is this a movement that is set out to scare foreigners who are living in South Africa, to say.
No, it's not about
To create a xenophobia kind of like rumor in the media.
It's the media who's always using that word xenophobia. It's the media. Because when you look at it, you just look at it.
But it's not unfamiliar though. Like if to be the xenophobia, it's not unfamiliar. It's very, for as far as I know.
I think we have to define even the word called xenophobia, what it means. Xenophobia means fear. So how can you...
People killing from people from other
But you how can you kill or beat someone that you fear?
No, it's basically people killing. I think xenophobia means, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it means an individual killing another individual for a different country. It's mostly to do something with continent. So if you have people from continent, which we well know, these things are bound to be happening in South Africa. Maybe I'm misinformed, but I have never heard of any country that went as far as that.
No, they
point,
did though.
apart from South
yes.
Africa.
No.
It happened.
It happened in Nigeria. It happened in, I think, 1983. You remember? You know the issue.
We were alive. When we were alive.
You remember this issue? No. We have to talk about these things because it seems as if it's only South Africa that was having kind of this issue of having some few people who don't like foreign nationals in the country. It happens in 1983 in Nigeria. You remember there's this bag, call it Ghana Must Go. Where that story of Ghana Must Go calling. And when Nigeria was having a strong economy, they were calling other Africans aliens in Nigeria. That's where the story of Ghana Must Go was coming from, those bags calling Ghana Must Go. Because those are the bags Ghanaians were using when they were living in Nigeria. You know, they were calling them aliens in Nigeria. So the only thing is, people, they should understand that as South Africans, we need to educate our people that our own brothers are not our enemies. Our frustration, I understand that the only thing is our frustrations is we need to... You see, another thing is that is very dangerous. You see, protests that have no leaders is very dangerous. When people rise up and take in their law, there's no leadership there. So people do anything. That's what happened in South Africa.
There's leaders, but they're just reckless leaders.
No, they're not reckless. When people come up saying that today, okay, we see, like, let me say, way there in Congo, let me say your capital town in Congo. You are living in that capital, you see foreigners like, say, South Africans turning Congo, you see as community here, you see what they're doing, they're selling drugs like nobody. You guys in the community will not stand up. There's no leadership there. You'll stand up and go there. There's no country, even in Ireland, there's no country can surrender their country to foreigners, seeing their children, their girls, doing prostitution, see their girls used by nature, see, it's happening. Look, guys, we should be, I don't know why people having really negative attitude towards South Africa.
But
because let me just tell you about Ireland, what happened in Ireland. Because in Ireland, when in what call it that street in Dublin, Moss Street. You remember the Moss Street was full of foreigners.
Yes.
It was controlled by foreigners. You know what the Irish government did? He shut down that place, Moss Street, and renovated and increased the rent.
But
how many foreigners there?
It's the same thing you can say about Matonge as well in Belgium. Is this street where it was just full of Africans, where you have places that African could per se say it's like a market where people went to get African food. Same thing with Chateau Rouge in France. Matonge is now just one street. Now I was very saddened by it because it was my first time I went this year in April. I went in there and I didn't get a sense of I did get a little bit sense of Africa because there's a bit of African people around, but you can feel that the history goes far behind because it was like, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, I wasn't there when it was fully, but it was way bigger than what I saw when I went there. And I felt sad. But then again, it's a foreign country. Yeah. We are not from there, and the government from that country, they have the authority to change as they see fit. If they smell something is not right. Yeah. Now, one thing I wanted to touch as well is the fact that I know they also place Zimbabwe in a place where Caucasian people, when they come into the country, they get a free pass in a way, in comparison to like black people or African people. Like for instance, you can say that when a Caucasian person comes into a country, they are considered without papers.
Yeah,
they are considered as
investors.
diplomats or something like that. Do you understand? But when a black person, African person comes into the country, they are considered, oh no, this person is it's illegally in the country. Do you understand? And you guys tend to take action against that. Is there, like, apart from xenophobia as well, which also kind of ties in with self-hatred? You understand?
Yeah,
with
I think so.
Africans?
Yes, there's element of that, and I think it's I think it's an issue of our thinking as Africans, not just as South Africans, Africans as a whole, because that mentality it still happens all
everywhere.
over. It's everywhere, So it's something that we need to talk about this and educate our people.
Do you think that stops us from moving forward?
Yes. I think it starts with us right now. We talk about it, which is something good, that because we're talking up, and this issue of so-called xenophobia has raised lots of questions and there's lots of debates. I'm so happy about it. Although it caused lots of pain, I think this is the start. And the other thing is, guys, I want to raise is, if you go to Johannesburg, do you know that there's some buildings that have been hijacked? You know what? The government, I think, I feel like it's powerless, to sort it out the issue of our fellow brothers in Johannesburg. It's not going to be easy to solve it. I'm telling you. There's some buildings in South Africa that are hijacked. People run away by foreign nationals. People run away. Those are the things I think it's. You say that our own people, maybe South Africans, when they see maybe white people or Chinese or Indians, they see them as investors. They don't see them the way they see the fellow Africans. And I think the reason why is whatever they are doing, most of these Chinese and all that, they don't live, let me say, they don't live, I think they live in exotic places. They don't live among us. And most of them, people see them like, even if they do drug business, we don't see them. We don't say they're doing. White people, they do a lot of drug business, but we don't see them. But these, our African brothers, they live among us. We see the way they are doing. You understand what I mean?
But it could be just
That's an issue.
places that are white people, because we know there's South Africans that are Caucasian as well.
Yeah.
But we're talking about foreigners that come from outside the country, come from America, South America, Europe even, and they come into Africa and they're considered as a diplomats when they have no papers. I know for a fact you cannot get away with the fact that you walk into this country in Ireland and you call yourself a diplomat with no papers. You are going to, whether you are Caucasian, whether you are black, whether you are Indian, whether you are Asian, you are going to find yourself in a hostel, or you're going to find yourself in some kind of detention center where they're saying that you're an asylum seeker or you're a refugee.
I'm telling you, it's
Why
actually...
can't this happen? You understand?
It's true. Like, what you're saying is true. It's all over. Like, let me tell you something. During when Zimbabwe, when Mugabe... First of all, Mugabe asked, when President Robert Mugabe said it to Zimbabwe white people, they share the land, they refuse the land, because there's one thing I really don't understand about capitalists. They don't want to share it all. So when Mugabe...
But isn't that a good thing? Mugabe left and he kind of
left
the land.
Yes.
Even though he had a very extreme way of
doing it. No, he did that because he asked them politely first, okay, let's share the land. They refused. You know what he did? He grabbed the land, and returned to the rightful owners. So what's happening is they left Zimbabwe. They came to Europe. Did you ever see any white people in the hostel going through what we were going through when we came here in Europe? You'll never see any white person seeking asylum, staying in the hostel, going through the process. You'll never. I only saw one here in Waterford who was sleeping in Viking, just one. I was asking myself, and I asked myself, how do they do it? And Funniest thing is, even during when we have lots of South Africans who run away from black rule in South Africa after 1994, they came to Europe, but they never go through. But what's happening is there was lots of visas. People they call it ancestral visa. Did you ever hear that kind of visa?
Ancestral visa? What's that?
Because most of them, their grandfathers were Europeans.
And they were born in South Africa?
Yes, some of them were born in South Africa, so which means they can be granted.
It still exists?
It still exists in UK.
Okay.
It still exists in UK.
Okay, so I'm just watching time, so we're just gonna move on to Mugabe. Obviously, rest in peace to him. Died at age 95 in Singapore in a hospital. He was very ill. If anybody doesn't know about Robert Mugabe, he was the president of Zimbabwe, former president of Zimbabwe, because he was overthrown. He said that he was overthrown on his last year. When was this? This is about a year ago or so?
2017.
2017, so 2 years ago or so, almost 2 years, he was overthrown. And Robert Mugabe is known for somebody who led for as long as I can remember. He's led for more than 30 years. He's led for more than 35 for as long as I've been alive.
Over 35 years, I think over 37, I think so.
Yeah, as long as I've been alive, Mugabe has been ruling. He's been ruling.
You were not yet conceived that time.
Yes, exactly. So Mugabe's role, and in 95, to die at 95, I feel like it's a good age for a president to go, especially for his age. Now, I feel like Mugabe going with likes of Nelson Mandela going, even though probably I would say
you can't compare Nelson Mandela with Mugabe.
I'm not comparing
because Mugabe is better than Nelson Mandela.
Do you think so?
Yes. Mugabe left his people with the land. We were left with poems and good speeches. What did we have as black people? We don't have nothing. Who owns the land? Who owns the economy of South Africa? We were sold a lie. 1994.
Wow.
Yes.
So Mandela, I would say
I'll choose Mandela. I'll choose Mugabe.
Why though?
Over Mandela.
I mean, you said about the poem, but Mandela was well known.
Mandela left with us. Is that the problem? Is that something that we need to discuss it one day? It's Mandela is a real hero, or he was made a hero. Those are the things. I think we need to think about that and digest and have a discussion about it. One day we have to debate if Mandela is a hero or he was made by the media. Because remember, we are told who must, who owns the media first of all. So the media will tell us who must. Or look now is the way they portray Mugabe. They made him as a bad man, as a devil. Yeah,
every single, as far as I remember, that's when I kind of like stopped going with the wave of like the media, because every single leader
I just believe Mandela was made a hero. Mandela is not a hero.
And he wasn't.
Look, what do we have? What do we have as black South Africans? We are just voting ships every 5 years. That's it. We don't owe anything, nothing. The economy still owned by white people. The land still owned by white people. We're fighting. That's the reason why even our people, they started to be angry and get frustrated, thinking our fellow brothers came over in South Africa to take over our jobs, because we don't have nothing as black people. You see, the real struggle is coming from South Africa. The real struggle and the root where Mugabe did, that's where we are going in South Africa, is because our land is ours and we want our land back to us. Mugabe left with Zimbabweans. Let me tell you something. People say that, we look at the economies of Zimbabwe right now, the economies of Zimbabwe. But what causes the economy of Zimbabwe to be like that is sanctions. You know what they were doing? What they're doing, they make sure that the land reform in Zimbabwe is not successful, to give warning to other African countries. Because what they did is, look now, every time we talk about the land in South Africa, they've said, oh, you want to be like Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. That's why they want to be Zimbabwe.
So they portrayed Mugabe to be this character of
a bad man.
It was the same thing you say that they did with Gaddafi as well, which is quite sad as well. Because once I look back and I really learn about what Gaddafi was up to, for how long, however, he ruled, for whatever he was up to. I mean, they were dictators, but for as long as they ruled for what they were planning for the country, for Africa, it was a much larger picture as well. But anyway, that's all we have for today.
Yeah.
Wesley, thank you very much for joining me. Okay, we should do this some more. Next time, I want to get some more people.
I know lots of South Africans will kill me by saying that.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! I can't wait.
I know because Mandela is there. What do you call it? Moses or Black.
Of course. But
So,
give out your social media.
he's not my hero.
Directly to your page and just.
He's not my
Maza,
hero.
find us. She's South Africa. She said it. Mandela is now her hero.
Yes.
People, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I know I'm going slower paces, but I have all the things that I'm going through. But I'm going to try to make sure that I give you every context every time and just getting real people to sit down here to have a Talk2 podcast. Okay.
And
Thank you very much.
And the next debate, I think we need to talk about this: is Mandela a hero or he was made a hero? And then invite all people from all different.
This couch is gonna get bigger. You heard it for her.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining me. And that is it.
Thank you for inviting me.